So let's settle for the details of what we have for you this afternoon on the pod. Of course, you can join with your comments, with your concerns on our social media handles, Facebook, YouTube, X, and of course, myjoyonline.com. Now, it's been one of its worst battering years, with the cedi now struggling to cope with the strength of the dollar, the pound sterling, and the euro, and all other major currencies. Now, the cedi currently trades at 15 cedis to the US dollars, with significant depreciation against the euro and the British pound sterling, causing concerns among the business community about the ripple effect on their transactions. And we've put together something to let you appreciate the difficulty the city finds itself in as we look to get more understanding of the situation and what government intends to do. The Vice President is bidding to lead the country in 2025. He has his own solution to the issue at hand. But this is the situation. And if you look at the trajectory, you are looking at between May of 2024 as of May of 2029, and we've moved from 14.52 all the way to 14.65. So that's how the cedi is trading. There's been a steady rise, and it started, our focus from the 22nd of May all the way to the 29th of May, just within a period of 1 week, if you like, and that's how it's moved. Even the government will tell us that the rate of depreciation is not so bad compared to the same period last year. What you see is that you need more cedis to buy the US dollar. And as we speak today, it is trading at 14.65, in some places 15.3. In other places, it can go as much as almost 16 Ghana cedis. And for the pound sterling, it's between 18 and 19 cedis, and then between 15.5 and 16 cedis also for the euro. Well, the situation has caught the attention of the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who has been sharing some ideas to stabilize the cedi. Speaking during his bold solutions for the future stakeholder engagement with labor unions this afternoon, he attributed the challenges facing the cedi to the lack of a stable anchor for the cedi. He identified the country's natural resources, particularly gold, as a game changer in transforming the economy, and plans to back the currency with gold to strengthen the cedi. Listen to what he intends doing if he becomes president in 2025.
How much did we have to go and borrow from the IMF? 3 billion over 3 years. But we can get 3 billion a year in gold from the small-scale mining sector alone. That changes our balance of payments completely. This is every year. You can get this. And it's there. It's being mined every year, taken out to India, to Dubai, and other places. So I want us, essentially, I made mention of this on February 7th, that ultimately my goal is that we are going to back our currency with gold. That is where I want us to go. Increasingly back our currency with gold, because it is very easy for us to do so if you keep having the gold reserves. And that will keep a lot of stability in the exchange market. Because right now, we don't have an anchor to hold the currency. But if we back it with gold, it will be very stable, because its value ultimately will be reflected by the value of gold, which is very stable. And so this is a major change that I want us to bring in, to look at the management of our natural resources and look at how we can accumulate gold to back our currency and increase our reserves. And once we are accumulating gold to the level of $3 billion equivalent every year, you can just imagine what will happen in 10 years for this country. Then it just changes completely. So you are accumulating this gold and you are backing your currency with it. And that makes it a completely new natural resource management regime. So you are controlling your resources. You are getting a stronger currency as a result. And that is where I believe Ghana should be going. And these small-scale miners, we will essentially support them. And this is why I want to establish a minerals development bank. A minerals development bank to help our mining sector. We don't only have gold, we have lithium and all other things. But if we get a financial institution that will focus on this, I believe that we can really help them, the mining companies, get a lot of equipment that is needed, because that is ultimately what is needed to mine the gold responsibly. And that is what we will do. We will make sure we empower our miners and have control over our resources and make the resources, the returns.
Well, organized labor appears to like the idea, but they say they will keep an eagle eye on it to ensure it's implemented to the letter. Here's Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Dr. Yalban.
These are all things that whoever comes to power should get these ideas. Whoever comes to power must not leave these ideas. These are great ideas. And what we have put in our manifesto is supposed to guide our relationship with any government that comes to power. And we intend to work with any government that comes to power to implement what we have in our manifesto. What Bawumia said was very simple. He said Ghana has what it takes to become an advanced country. And that really was a very powerful message. So then he went on to talk about what Ghana has. And one of the things that we have had for hundreds of years is gold. So he is saying that we should not have anything backing our currency but our gold. And I think that was perfect. What we say and how we implement it sometimes is a problem. If indeed we are able to implement all the ideas that Bawumia shared with us today, this country will not be the same. It doesn't matter who is in charge. I think the ideas stand and the ideas are great.
Do you think backing the cedi with gold will be the best antidote in stabilizing the currency?
I think so. I share that idea, very much so. Because you cannot support your currency with anything but the natural resource we have. We are very lucky to have gold.
How does the TUC intend to hold these political parties accountable?
Of course, we engage them. We have started engagement even when they are campaigning. We hope that when they finally take over power, this kind of engagements will continue. Because it is through this dialogue that we are able to influence policy. It is through this dialogue that we are able to say, this is not going well, this is going well, keep doing that, this is not going well, stop it.
So the question is, how viable is this proposal? Now, let's explore this matter. Joining us is Dr. Benjamin Amoah, financial analyst and senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Amoah, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse.
Having me.
Right. So, I mean, the vice president was quite clear that the reason the cedi is struggling is because there is no anchor, and he intends to fix this problem with gold, natural resources, using gold to help stabilize the cedi. I mean, I don't know how, to the best of your understanding, how feasible this is.
In the past, if you have gone through the history of currency management, you realize that there was a period in time where gold was used as a strategy to maintain the value of currency. That is what we call the gold standard. However, it got to a point in time that the whole world realized that it wasn't feasible to use the gold standard, and so it was abandoned for the fixed exchange rate system to the current floating exchange rate system that we have. So the use of commodities to back currencies are not new. It's just that the preference for many economic managers of the world is to allow the currencies to find their natural strength based on demand and supply condition, and not using the natural commodities or resources that we have. And so it will be good to know what actually will go into this policy that will make it different from where the world has transitioned from over 40, 50 years ago, to let it look as if it is new for us to have a strong currency. In fact, as we speak now, countries like China, Turkey, and India, their central banks are purchasing gold. BOG itself, about 2 or 3 years, started purchasing gold as part of diversifying its reserves to support the currency. So yes, it is not new, but the world has moved on. So there should be something special that we don't know about this particular arrangement that will give our cedi some strength.
I'll come back to ask what, in your view, maybe solutions, if you like, in terms of what the Vice President is proposing. But from your reading of the situation, what really is the problem as we face today that is making the cedi so unable to catch up with the rest of the trading currencies?
Okay, now we all know that we have gone through a debt exchange program. We all know that our economy is not as strong as it used to be years ago. Look, inflation is high. Monetary policy rate is about 29. Interest rate is high. Unemployment is high. Clearly, if you have this situation on the ground and your import and exports are not really balancing, this particular situation we have on ground is not strange. Countries that time and time again have had challenges in managing their currencies have posted poor fundamentals. And these poor fundamentals has been compounded by speculative attacks that we are having on our currency. So it is not as if we have the economy under control and our currency is weak. Our economy, as we speak now, is not in the best of shape, compounded by speculative activity. So it is just natural that if you're a small economy like Ghana, and you have opened up so much and you do a lot of import, in addition to your fundamentals, naturally your currency will be weak. So we need to look at it from that point of view and accept that this is the situation we find ourselves in. Until we start having strong fundamentals, this condition will persist. I'm sorry to say.
Some justification for what is happening to the cedi. I mean, he mentioned, for example, the payment of almost 49 billion Ghana cedis to contractors, the payment of $400 million to independent power producers, and then also linked what could be happening to speculators. I mean, to what extent is speculation an issue in these circumstances?
Okay, as we speak now, if you go to the banks will give you what they have in terms of how much they are bidding for forex, especially the dollar from DOG. They'll have the numbers. And so you look at how much the banks are requesting for and how much DOG itself is releasing to the banks. The difference is what the banks must look for to meet the demand and request from their clients. So clearly that should give you an idea of how much we need. And the businessman who needs to pay for his goods will go at all lengths to make sure that he gets the dollars, buy the goods, and come to sell. And so clearly, if we are still importing in the midst of all the, what I'll call the below supply expectation from Bank of Ghana,
right,
and still we are paying for goods and services that is imported, it means that these dollars are coming from somewhere. And definitely, it will affect how much we will quote the dollar for the cedi, because there's short supply and there's high demand. And that is what we are facing now.
So, Dr. Abba, imagine we're still paying our debts. What situation would have been?
That would be interesting to see, because if you are paying the debt and you are paying hard currency dollars, then it means that you have to find a way of getting the dollars in addition to the current situation that we find ourselves in. I will not be able to say, but your guess is good as mine, because even without servicing the hard currency debt, we are having this challenge. So you can imagine if we have to add on and meet that. Clearly, our situation has been much more worse than what we see today.
So therefore, mismanagement cannot be ruled out in this discussion.
That is partly true, because if you look at what has happened, you can see that it's more of the fiscal dominance that has taken control of our monetary policy, and that is what has thrown our monetary policy out of order. If you look at what BOG has done so far, if we had managed our fiscal side, government expenditure, government revenue, then that would have supported the success stories we've had from the monetary side, which is how to control the money in the system. But we are not being able to do that because fiscal dominance has been so strong. And that has pulled Bank of Ghana to find it difficult to bring some sort of stability as far as the monetary aspect of the economy is concerned. But then back to the gold argument.
Exactly.
Clearly, if we want to use the gold to support our currency, we need to sit down and look at it because gold itself is a volatile commodity. The prices are not stable. What it means is that you must at each point in time have the same amount of gold in reserve compared to the amount of money you have in supply. If gold prices should decline, it means that you have more money out there than the reserve that you have. Exactly. That is going to pose a challenge. And so we need to clearly understand that particular policy. You don't forget that once you go into gold and other natural resources to support your currency, there are environmental concerns in how we are going to mine the gold, the crude oil to build the reserve. Do we have enough environmental safety nets to make sure that these minerals will be mined in such a way that it doesn't compromise on the quality of the environment, especially in a world that we are going green and concern on environmental issues are very much, a concern to everyone. We need to also understand perfectly how we can manage that environmental concern in our quest to use natural resources to support the currency. What is going to happen to BOG? Are we going to see the monetary responsibility of managing the forex to another agency, or Bank of Ghana is going to add it to what they are already doing? If you're talking about a mixture of currencies, that is not just gold. And so BOG itself, as we speak now, is overburdened with deposit-taking institutions, industries' responsibility.
Right.
We want to now add on not just demand and supply aspect of currency management, but then commodity aspect to BOG's responsibility. We need to look at it again and see how feasible BOG will be able to, or that agency will be able to do that without compromising on the additional areas of monetary policy that BOG must consider in our quest to control money and the supply of money in the system. So we need to also look at that and make sure that it is done and done in a proper way.
But
how
again,
are we going to manage and store the currencies or the minerals? There's the issue of security cost that we also have to consider. So maybe we need to see the policy, and then when we see the details of the policy, we see how some of these concerns may have been addressed or will be addressed in the approach going forward in managing the currency, using gold or commodities to back the currency.
But how do you derive the maximum benefit from gold, for example, if that is the only option that we are saddled with to use? More especially when that sector is in the hands of the private sector. Government has no direct role in terms of ownership.
Yeah, so what we will do is that we will have to purchase the gold from the producers. So BOG must do that and purchase the gold from the producers so that we can hold the gold. So that any currency we now issue, we back it with our gold. Even in an extreme case that, I'm using the word extreme case that we need to sell, we are going to sell the gold for hard currency. And that will also come out to support our currency. So clearly, you have a point by saying that it's in the hands of foreigners. But then we can also buy from them if we need to. We should not forget that we have a lot of small-scale miners in the system who BOG can also buy from to build our reserves. So clearly, we can do that. But it is more than that. The environmental concern. And if you even want to diversify the pool of natural resources, gold, oil, and other resources, we need to look at how best we can manage the environmental distractions or concern that will come with this. It is feasible, but the question is, if the world has moved away from gold standard years ago,
why do you want to go there?
That's the question. Maybe there's something that we need to know.
But again, if you look at the oil for gold deal, does that offer some kind of a foundation to analyze it properly and say that we can replicate this in terms of dealing with the currency? Even though some have argued that we've not really benefited much from the oil for gold deal, and that should raise concern.
Yeah, as we speak now, BDCs are complaining that they don't get enough forex, and until recently we had gold for oil. So what has been the success story of gold for oil? If we can get the numbers, then we can speak to what the success stories has been for gold for oil in terms of we having crude at the pumps and also we having some stability in the currency. Look, the past 2 years has been very terrible for the Ghana cedi. And that's the same period that we had gold for oil. So Are we saying that but for gold for oil to have been worse? Nobody knows. So we need to look at what the data is and then speak to it and try to guess and see if indeed gold for oil had some positive impact on the value of our Ghana cedi.
So if I should ask you for solutions beyond the skepticism you have about using gold to stabilize the cedi, what should that be?
We need to get the basis right. You know, it appears that we don't want to do the tough things, that is to invest and to build the structural difficulties we have in the economy. We have opened up our economy. That is point number one. So we are buying and selling just like any other country is doing. So if you are not producing enough, we will definitely have to import. We are not doing that. We are not putting in place measures to do that. Countries can retaliate when you decide to impose tariffs or ban on their product because your export is their import. And so clearly we need to sit down and see how best we can have control over our economy. The truth of the matter is this. Look, all countries that have been successful at some of these things have, at a point in time in their history, looked inwards.
Right.
Why are we not doing that? So we need to be looking at it. Sadly, the government came up with this policy of trying to impose some bans on certain items. The policy was not very clear.
Yeah, it is so pending.
And the roadmap was not very clear. And so questions came up because the government could not tell us what exactly they wanted to achieve by timelines so that we could just know how we are going to move along that path. And so the government had to abandon it. If we had proper policy in place and we had a better way of measuring it, we could have gone with maybe 15% reduction, 30, 25 in that scale, so that we know that by 5 years' time, we are self-sufficient in these areas. We didn't do that. The point I'm trying to make is that we need to look inward. If we want to look at it over the long term. In the short term, BOG must still come in to support the Ghana cedi because the Ghana cedi is not strong. If we should allow the market itself to fix a value, the Ghana cedi is going to go way beyond 20 cedis. I mean, so BOG must definitely support. Yeah.
Some people, some analysts who've spoken to us, those who are into the import and export sector, I mean, they've made it clear that you look at the kind of things we bring into the country. Containers, shipping companies bring containers into the country. The containers they bring, 80 to 90% go back empty. It means we are not exporting enough. So all these solutions that we probably have to deal with the cedi may be temporary. The root cause has not been fixed. And until that is fixed, we'll continue to have these debates almost every quarter. And that's
absolutely.
For me, yeah.
Absolutely, you're right. You're right. But what you just said is a perfect description of the situation on the ground. You don't even need to be an expert in international finance or an individual trading in or engaging in international business. Just drive from the shopping mall area to Tema. Look at the nature of the road. Get to the motor runabout, make a U-turn, and then drive from the Tema motorway end to Accra. And look at the quality of that same road. Realize that coming from Tema to Accra is worse than moving from shopping mall to Tema.
Exactly.
That should tell you and depict the nature of economy we have in terms of import and export. We have heavy items coming into the country that are moving out to the country. That should clearly demonstrate to you that we are not doing enough when it comes to using our trade to support our currency because we import more than we export. And we need to fix that. It's as simple as that. It is difficult, but we need to just work on it.
Some traders are pushing hard and saying that government should work hard to ensure that the cedi to the dollar hits around 10 cedis before the end of the year. Is it feasible?
From what we are saying, that would be a wish. It would have been everybody's desire to have that. But if you look at where we are, that would be very, very difficult. 10 Ghana cedis to a dollar is about 3 years ago's rate.
Yes.
And we are almost 3 years away from, or we have moved 3 years on. It is not feasible. It is not. It is something we can work on. But if you look at what we find ourselves in now, we are almost halfway through the year. It will be very, very difficult, if not impossible, for us to achieve that. Maybe we can talk about stability now, so that we can at least have a long span of a stable cedi than to say that the cedi will recover. What will take the cedi to recover? We have not been doing it in the past. And I don't think that within these 6 months, we're able to do that to get the cedi to recover the lost grounds that the cedi has recovered.
All right.
That is not possible. Maybe we are talking about stability, so that in the next 6 months, we are not going to see the surge that we have seen. But we can maintain it around maybe 15, not more than 16. That's okay. But to go back, that would be a surprise.
All right. Dr. Amar, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Always a pleasure speaking to you. And of course, his reaction to the Vice President's proposal to use gold or natural resources to help deal with the depreciation of the city. And that is one of the things that he says he would do if elected President of the Republic. He met the Trade Union Congress this afternoon to outline his vision for the TUC. Now, in a related matter, the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority, they've defended the $12 million pay to contractors undertaking the Pugu multi-purpose irrigation dam project. GIDA, in a statement, said the payment formed part of the contract terms that required the contractor, Power Construction Corporation of China, to be paid a total of $11.9 million as mobilization fee once the contractor could provide advance payment guarantee from a reputable bank. Already, the minority in Parliament, they've taken a decisive stance, led by the ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee, John Jinapo. They have pledged to pursue accountability vigorously after a visit to the sites. And this is what we've put together in terms of the response that came from GIDA. And according to them, this is what you have on your screen. So the project is in components. Sword cutting was in 2019. President Akufo-Addo gave a 4-year period for the construction. Completion will witness 60 megawatts of hydropower and 50 megawatts of solar power at a cost of $588.2 million. Also, the second component, irrigation infrastructure for farming activities within the enclave. And we are told that upon completion, the impacts will be felt in 7 regions. Now, the project was awarded as 2 independent engineering, procurement, and construction contracts to Power Construction Corporation of China, that's Power China, and EPC, that's Power China, consisted of a detailed feasibility study and engineering construction, and all pre-construction activities are required before actual construction can start. And so, this is the background to it. And the press statement that came from GIDA outlines what has been done, expected mobilization, government of Ghana $48.7 million. After receiving advance payment guarantee, what government paid was $11.94, and they provided work done that warranted the payment of this $11.94 million to the company, that's the Chinese company that's undertook this project, Power China. And mobilization to site started in 2021. A major output of the project design has been submitted by EPC to contractors to GIDA. This is also according to their statement. And from what they are communicating to the public, what the contractor has done so far include 5.2 kilometers access road of the main Sareba-Pesempe road to the contractor's camp. 4 kilometers on site in and around the camp road have been completed. They've also done 10 blocks of building, 100 rooms as site offices, construction area, main structures completed, except for water, electricity installation. This, according to the same what have been done so far, the initial finance was $2 billion with Chinese state-run Sino Hydro Corporation Limited in September 2022, but it has stalled with government forced to fall on regular budget to finance. The government is seeking alternative sources of funding. EPC contractor has agreed to halt work on the project because funding is not coming as required, and so that's all. So payment of 11.9 was for mobilization according to GIDA per terms of contract and not final payment of work done. Again, payment was covered by a bank guarantee, face value in excess of payment made. And they say that contrary to claims that no work has been done, the contractor has delivered both pre-construction documents and some physical work. So how is the minority taking it? John Jinapon led some NDC members on the Mines and Energy Committee on the fact-finding mission at Pugu, and they came with a report. Now, there's this reaction. JJ, good to have you back on the pause. I don't know what your reaction to. The statement provides what's the reason why 11.9 million was paid. Does it sit well with you?
Not at all. That even strengthens our issue and our determination to institute an inquiry. If you read the contract document, which is titled Government of the Republic of Ghana, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and Agriculture, Engineering, Procurement, Construction for Pugu Irrigation Dam, the 125-page document indicates that government is to pay 12% as counterpart funding.
Right.
When we say 12% as counterpart funding, it means that at each stage, government will contribute 12%. The Chinese will contribute the remaining 88%. Because the Chinese government is contributing a huge chunk, they insisted that Power China should be the contractor that will undertake the work. So why would government of Ghana proceed to pay $12 million alone for this company to go and construct a donkey path and those substructures and then pack and leave? That is the first question. That what is the Chinese government's contribution so far as payment to Power China is concerned? Because Power China was chosen because we expected that the Chinese government would pay some money. So why that rush? Why would government pump 12 million into a project and 5 years down the lane, there's no benefit? If you had used that 12 million to buy treasury bill, would have so much benefit. If government had used it for something productive, would have had so much money. If the Chinese had contributed the 88% of the 12 million, then you will say that you are justified because Power China is the company that is benefiting. They just put some substructures there, no electricity, no water. It's of no use, nobody can live there. The road is a small donkey path which has been overgrown by wheat. And that 12 million is gone down the drain. So what is the value of the 12 million? That is the question. And for me, that is the most important thing we are asking for. And I think that we ought to investigate this matter. No. We ought to ensure that we get to the bottom of this matter. So that next time, we wouldn't throw our money down the drain. Because as we speak, it's been 5 years. This contract was entered into May 2019. We are in May 2024. 5 years, that 12 million is locked up. There's no value for it. There's nothing to benefit from it. No Ghanaian has benefited from even one cedi or $1 from the 12 million, apart from the Chinese company. Look, we will get to the bottom of this matter. This even strengthens our resolution and our resolve to ensure that we investigate this matter.
But again, the statement says that construction works done so far, 5.2 kilometers of road, contractors, campsite offices, construction of temporary and auxiliary facilities. Current state of the project, it says that the PMDIP was originally scheduled to be financed at the 2 billion. They've explained that. And the reason for the 11.9, they say we would like to make it clear that 11.9 was for mobilization as per the contract terms and not final payment work done. The payment was covered by a bank guarantee with a face value far in excess of the payment. At no point was government at risk. And then, contrary to claims that no work has been done, the contractor has delivered both pre-construction documents and some physical works, camp and access roads. And they have provided pictures, including the area view of the contractor's camp, the contractor's workshop. I mean, they even have pictures of a select committee of the Agric in Parliament visiting this campsite. And they say that these are evidence backing the payment that is in question. And you also think that there's more questions than answers?
More questions than answers. One, the contractor was supposed to build a dam. Is that not it?
Yes.
Has even one spoon of cement gone into the dam construction? No. All they claim they've done is that they were putting up a certain construction site, a temporary one. And I'm telling you that there's nobody there. The contractor has packed and left. The money is gone down the drain. What is the value of that money? So what is the value to Ghanaians from the 12 million? They should tell us. Nobody talks about government being at risk. What we are saying is that you have paid 12 million, it's gone down the drain. There is no benefit to Ghanaians. We saw that road. The road is overtaken by weed. In fact, that road is no more existent. If you go there, you can't even drive. We have to park and walk to that place. So it is a waste. The Chinese should have been made to contribute part of this 12 million. That is my point. That why would government of Ghana alone give the Chinese company that money when your counterpart funding is just 12%? When we say counterpart funding, it means that at each stage, both of you would contribute because you are the counterparty. And you paid the money in 2021 after COVID. You claim that when COVID happened, the money was not coming.
Yes.
So why would you go and pay that money to the Chinese? What was the assurance from the Chinese government that they will indeed give you the money, which led you to give your 12 million to a Chinese company?
And the statement is clear that, getting the money became difficult, so government now had to rely on internally generated funds, if you like. And that
so why keep the Chinese company?
And that also became an issue. The reason...
Yes, so why keep the Chinese company? Because the essence of the Chinese company is that you are getting funding from the Chinese. So when you decided that the funding was not forthcoming, and hence you will rely on internal funding, why did you not use Ghanaian companies? Why would you give that 12 million to a Chinese company? So where is the value for the 12 million? An access road to their camp, to the camp of the Chinese company, that is the value to Ghana. Is that what Ghanaians want? That you give your 12 million to a Chinese company to go and construct a path road to where the Chinese company intends to put up a temporary structure? Look, this wastage of the taxpayers' money that goes down the drain, we would not countenance that. We would fight this matter, would call for a full inquiry, and whoever authorized that payment to the Chinese company would be held liable. What has the payment guarantee got to do with the 12 million you paid him? You paid the 12 million to the company. The company only used it to do what they called an access road to their site. That is not the interest of Ghanaians. We want a project delivered. And when government realized that the Chinese were not forthcoming with the money, they had no business giving our taxpayers money to a Chinese company only to go and put up a temporary structure and pack out of Ghana. We will pursue this matter.
Let me read to you. Perhaps this gives us a glimpse of what the future holds for this Pugu Dam. And it's this paragraph in the statement. The ministry statement says that the contractor has raised IPC's awaiting payment, that is further payment, pending the arrangement of the alternative source of funding outside the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Food and Agriculture budgetary allocation. The EPC contractor has agreed to halt work on the project. This is to forestall some potential risks to the project. The weir for the irrigation and the hydropower dam must be constructed either in consonance, or the hydropower dam must lead the weir construction to prevent the irrigation infrastructure from being affected or destroyed by the flood.
Thank you very much, my brother.
They go to say that if not done concurrently, the irrigation infrastructure will be washed away from huge inflows often experienced during the Bargate Dam. So where did we go from? Are we going or we are staying? I don't understand.
I need to pay. According to this statement, the Chinese company, Power China, has raised more invoices for Ghana to pay.
Yes.
And I'm saying that once the Chinese were not coming with the money, you had no business keeping this company. This company was selected because China was giving you the money. If the Chinese are no more giving you the money, what you do is to engage in a competitive tender so that you can get the best value for money. Because now we're going to use our money. The Chinese are not for the Christmas. They are looking for business opportunities. That is why they brought their company and said they will give us the money. Now, if you are sure that the Chinese are no more going to give you the money, what you do is to terminate the contract. Because that contract is contingent on the Chinese bringing money. You have no business giving them the 12 million. And now, I'm even getting to know that it's not just the 12 million. They have raised some IPCs, interim payment certificates. And so Ghana government still has to pay even more than the 12 million.
Right.
This is nothing but a scam.
So we have not heard the last of this?
No. I bet you. Trust me, tomorrow you'll hear from me.
All right. Thank you very much. John Jinapor is ranking member on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament, and he was reacting to the statement that came from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, reacting to the Pugu multi-purpose dam, the payment of $12 million to the Chinese contractor. And again, let me reiterate what the statement emphasized in terms of giving you a glimpse of what is to come or the future of this dam. And they say that the contractor, even though $11.9 million has already been paid, they provide justification for the payment. According to them, it was for mobilization and some work done already. But they give, an update on the situation and say that the contractor has raised an IPC that's certificate awaiting further payment pending the arrangement of the alternative sources of funding outside the Ministry of Food and Agriculture budget provision. The certificate, the contractor has agreed to halt work on the project, and this is to forestall any potential risks to the project. But again, the warning here is that if this is not done concurrently, the irrigation infrastructure already in place will be washed away from huge inflows often experienced during the Godfred Dame spillage. So the little that we have done is in danger of being washed away, and that's the millions of dollars paid to this contractor. So this is where we are. We'll take a short break. When we come back, Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuan-Yeboah has been reacting to allegation of judicial manipulation by his boss, alleged by the NDC yesterday. You want to hear his take on this matter? Stay right there. We'll have the details for you after this short break here on the Pulse. Welcome back to the Pulse here on Joy News, and let's move to some other stories. Remember, we have an exclusive reaction from the Deputy Attorney General on the matters involving his boss, the Godfred Dame, regarding the issues that the NDC raised yesterday at their news conference. But recent power outages being experienced in some parts of the country are taking a toll on private morgue in the Ashanti region. Some of them are struggling to preserve bodies with extended power cuts that often last more than 12 hours per day. The situation has led many grappling with unexpected fuel costs and hastily arranging barriers. Nana Boachi Adam has more in this report.
The stadium. Okay, let's go. Not just the living suffocates when the lights goes off and on. The dead also swelter. The current erratic power supply does not just affect our homes and businesses, but the home of the dead and the business of the mortuary man. In today's episode of Dumso Diaries, we tell you the crestfallen stories of mosques suffering from the intermittent power cuts. The recent electricity woes have taken on a new urgency, posing unprecedented challenges for private morgues. The relentless power cuts have triggered an alarming issue that goes beyond just inconvenience, but the rapid decomposition of corpses. The city morgue is among several morgues in Kumasi, bearing severe economic challenges as a result of the intermittent power cuts. Kwame Osueje is a mortician at the City Morgue Limited.
Do some here. Fuwe na company betono enye fuwe kitwa ti do something there ade a hardwe pa ema adwuma la no edu ba bia mo amoto adwuma kwa sika nyina akode filling station for ni na se for ti do something there hardwe to do something there.
The company is left to spend so much on fuel. The situation is affecting our business. Something must be done for us to benefit. Families complain. We have to work extra mile to keep the bodies.
Ebia bibise ba tontumi nka kasa bia adwuma na yesi tu na wo se wo hwie se na wo ye adwuma wa adwuma no be konim ebeye neat.
Bodies are decomposing more rapidly than usual due to recent power disruptions. Kwame explains how frustrating it is to perform his duties.
Ayedumulat na attendant no do bia ye bre say kwan ko cheki obi body because in pan the body ni by say bibinti oni ahobante no kwese wo de tuye do tam na oba be fa na bibia ye den eye kama ti wan ma wo attendant na ma ho anye ha na say bibisia wo di akodwo dia e bia bet nya afeti na ma bebere all bodies ni ho
say light ni so bodies no et sen
oh say was hu ye fresh et say wa koku store akotonam na ice na ye den afrim.
We do suffer a lot as attendants. The outages keeps the body dry, which is not what we expect. It is like losing the eyes on meat bought from the cold store. The bodies are infected and they are not well preserved when the light goes off.
So my chemicals na ye di enwo adwuma no wo man e available ekoni kama ba wat mi anye ankoni mu na se bia body no yidu ko to fridge mu fresh sa se bia meba beye na want mi anye sano mana ma bed bed edum du so na body no benya de benya infected.
The situation presents grieving families with a difficult decision to hurriedly conduct funerals while adding additional stress, emotional torture, and significant monetary strains to their already challenging times. Kofi Odro explains the challenge families go through. The plant sometimes refuses to function. The bodies are not well kept due to the outages. It's destroying our businesses. Families get frustrated anytime they get here to see their bodies dry. Mortician Kwame J is pleading with authorities to provide a load shedding timetable to help enhance his work.
We
plead with government to do something about the intermittent power cuts. We want something to be done as soon as possible, at least a timetable. For Joy News, Nana Boachidan Kwayadum, Kumasi.
And of course, you know, we are running this campaign on kidney and dialysis, and we've got this special feature for her. Now, when her parents, when she was very young, kidney failure, some years later, prevented her from completing her senior high school education at Empire Senior High School. That's the story of 25-year-old Dame Mensah, who now struggles to get much needed dialysis treatment. She says she has been forced by the increased cost of the treatment to skip food and water intake so she wouldn't have to deal with a lot of waste in her system. She's joined other young people living with kidney failure to push for a reduction in the cost of dialysis treatment or having it quickly absorbed by the National Health Insurance Scheme. Marshall Agbagba has more in our dialysis crisis series.
Back here in Accra, I've met 16-year-old SHS student Rosemary Boidu. She says aside from the difficulty in raising money for a much-needed dialysis, it affects her academics too.
Sometimes, because of the dialysis, I don't go to school on Mondays and Thursdays. I'll come for dialysis. Whenever I go to school, sometimes I'll be confused, especially when they treat mass. I don't understand where they are fruit, because I missed some lessons. So when I go, it's difficult for me to learn the one they have learned before I went.
Okay.
And sometimes we call and ask our friends and neighbors. Sometimes if we get the money, we will come for the diet. If we do not get, then we will not go. Even sometimes it's very difficult unless I'll be calling people, and sometimes I'll not get the money, so I have to sleep like this. We are pleading with government to help us with the dialysis. We cannot pay because of that. We are not able to go for dialysis, and that one too is our strength. If we not do the dialysis, we are suffering. We are pleading them to help us, pay the money for us so that we can dial at least 2 times or 3 times a week.
Rosemary has now been receiving support for her dialysis treatment. Her mother says they need money for a kidney transplant. Here at the meeting called by the leadership of the Renal Patients Association of Ghana, I've met a lady in her 20s, Dede Mensah. She says she has resorted to skipping food and water intake so she wouldn't have to deal with a lot of waste in her system.
Sometimes I don't drink water, I don't eat. Even when I'm thirsty, I'll be there, I won't drink. Because I know if I drink, I will suffer, so I won't drink.
Former General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayu, wants dialysis treatment to be made free.
If we are looking at it, I think ultimately dialysis must be free. And we have to have a funding mechanism. My other submission on this is that if you look at the kidney situation we are discussing, the prevalence of chronic kidney disease, about 17% in Ghana, means that this condition is even more prevalent than HIV. Has it gotten the needed attention like HIV? So we need perhaps a separate entity, maybe a National Kidney Health Authority or a chronic diseases or non-communicable diseases authority to engage in surveillance for these conditions.
During a big conversation on dialysis crisis organized by Joy News sometime last year, Presidential Advisor on Health Dr. Antonin Siasari listed what government is doing to bring relief to people like Priscilla, Stacy, and Dede. But a year on, we ask how far have we come with implementing some of these promises.
There's a document which is being reviewed so that we have a law. It's very, very important. It has to go through cabinet for cabinet approval and then move to parliament for parliamentary approval, and the president will assent to it so that we can harvest the organ, we can store the organ, and also donate the organ. It's not only for kidney, are all on us, and some of us have taken up as our, because I'm a doctor, first and foremost, that this thing should be done and done as quickly as possible. And then, as he rightly, as the Dr. Ampuma said also, we are building the capacity of our surgeons. Actually, kidney transplant is one of the most not so complicated things that we can do, as any surgeon can do.
And that was Marcel Ababa on our kidney dialysis series. Now, let's turn our attention to a matter that broke yesterday, and it's still the most topical issue here in Ghana. The Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Tuan-Yeboah, has ravished the NDC's demand for his boss, Godfred Dame, to resign or be sacked. Mr. Dame has been accused of coercing one of the 3 accused persons in the trial of the minority leader, Kezala Toforcem, for the procurement of 40 ambulances into the country to implicate the minority leader. The NDC released an audio recording of the Dame telephone conversation with Richard Dakpa yesterday, sparking uproar. But speaking on the sidelines of the launch of the Amnesty International's Human Rights and Death Penalty Report 2023, Mr. Tuan-Yeboah said his boss, the Attorney General, remains irresolute whilst maintaining that the content in that audio recording is yet to be authenticated by the AG's office.
It is not confirmed whether what we have is an authentic audio. It's not confirmed. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that the Attorney General is very resolute, very firm, very healthy, undertaking his duties as an Attorney General. He's currently out of jurisdiction, and very soon he'll be back to continue his duties as an Attorney General of the Republic. Oh, we are in court, and cases of this nature are fought in court. We have closed our case in that matter. The first accused person has closed his case. The third accused person is in the witness stand, undergoing cross-examination. So that's where our focus is.
The NDC wants him to resign or recuse himself. What do you say to that?
There is no basis, my brother.
But do you think their views or the audio will affect?
The audios have, if there are any, have nothing to do with what we are doing in court. And the judge yesterday made it known to all of us that what we are doing in court is different from what we are doing in the public space. That's political. Our focus is to do what we are supposed to do in court for it to get to the end of this matter.
You've indicated that you are yet to authenticate that audio recording, but really, did your boss ever have any conversation via telephone with the third accused?
It is not in doubt. We issued a statement, and within the week, you've heard our spokesperson, very true, circumstance that led to that kind of conversation, and then we think nothing untoward was said, as I speak now. That may be the view of other people, but not my view. Oh, we should all stay committed to the cause of the Republic. We must make sure that we protect the public purse. It matters not who is involved. If there's anything untoward, we must make sure that we support the prosecutors to come to conclusion on matters before the court. Because we represent the Republic. We represent you. Over 34 million Ghanaians. It's not our own representation. So we only need your support and nothing else.
So let's get some reaction to this. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner and joined us via Zoom. Mr. Kpebu, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse. The Deputy AG says that they are yet to authenticate the audio recording. I mean, it is right to say so, isn't it? Mr. Kpebu, if you can hear me, and you can unmute for me as well. We've just been listening to the Deputy Attorney General who says that the AG's office is yet to authenticate the audio recording that is already in the public domain, and then they will take further steps from there. And I'm saying that this is within their right, absolutely, isn't it?
Mr. Broby?
Yes, sir.
Is it Mr. Broby?
Yes, sir.
Oh, why is Kpebu doing this? Listen, I understand due process, okay? I understand. But the more they bring out these kinds of answers and all that, it makes the whole thing farcical. It's like we are playing. You hear this clear audio, even before, look, let me tell you, the moment I got to know, how I got to know that Dami was in trouble was that even before NDC brought out the audio, he started planting stories in different newspapers. On Sunday evening, there was a publication in Asasi Radio. Then Monday morning, you have the usual surrogates, Daily Guide, the Ghanaian Observer, blah, blah, like 4 newspapers. So the charges have not yet been laid against you, and yet you are running ahead and giving explanations. Look, why is just saying so farcical? They should stop. Listen, this tape is so bad. Dami should just tender his resignation and go. Because the more he stays in office, then the more these arguments and debates will go on, and then the more he's dragging the name of the office of the Attorney General into the mud and the judiciary. You see, the same thing with the judge. So it's just better the two of them will resign, and then the court case is stopped.
The judge in reference, is it this Supreme Court judge in question?
Yes.
Emmanuel
he also has to resign.
Yoni Kolende.
Yes, he has to. Yes, it's Yoni Kolende, nice man. Oh, he's very, affable, very industrious. So many accolades, right? But unfortunately, what has happened is such that we need to cleanse all the system in a way. In terms of these two actors, the more they stay, then the more it drags the judiciary, the office of the Attorney General, and the government, and by extension, the whole of Ghana into disrepute. So if they quickly resign, then the indication to the world out there is that, yes, steps have been taken. Things are being done to restore confidence. So it's not in anybody's interest for Kpebu to continue dilly-dallying with, we are now going to check authentication. Yesterday, when they did their press conference. Was that the basis? Was that the basis? Didn't they accept it? When you didn't hear Frank Davis making all those points, was authentication an issue? Why is this suddenly an issue? As I've said, listen, Ghana is being bruised, right? Maybe bruised is even, it's not the right word. It's too mild. Look, this embarrassment is big time. It's big. Let's not continue to do this because, and those who are trying to defend it, trying to spin it, look, they should realize that the more they do it, then the more they cast a bad image on the whole country because it tells you that we are just crooks. Yeah.
Lawyer, counsel, educate me on what exactly the Supreme Court judge has done to warrant his resignation.
Look, in the tape, Japa says they've met there several times. Several times. It's Japa himself who says it in the tape. You can play it. He says they've been meeting there. So it's not a one-off mistake that the judge didn't know, and so we can just, overlook it. No. It means that meeting there several times. It means that it is now, that is the venue for the plea bargaining, and the judge is in the know. Please. I mean, I hate to say it. It's difficult. It's difficult on most lawyers' lips. Yes, it's difficult because of who Yoni Kulendi is and also that this is the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, that it has to be said. Nobody wishes it on Ghana, but it's happened. This type of thing, no, there is no way you can justify this. He says several times. So let's just put a quick end to it and restore confidence in the system. The system is bigger than any individual. So once this has happened, as I said, very regrettable. But look, there isn't much we can do about it.
Is it also surprising that up until now, the allegation is solely on the head of the Attorney General, not even the government. Yet he's yet to even speak to it directly.
Oh, but for me, okay, when he said directly, that's he himself holding a press conference.
Because he is at the center of the entire thing. He's at the center.
Sorry?
It is his personality in question. And I'm saying that it surprised you that almost 48 hours after this allegation came out, the AG, who is at the center of this controversy, has yet to open his mouth on this matter.
No, it doesn't surprise me. The reason it doesn't is that the tape is too damning for him to attempt to spin it. So in matters like this, the cheats chatter. When cheats have a way of going around these things, let other people come out first. Those people will speak. As those people try to proffer defenses and perspectives, from the reactions, you will gauge the reactions and know whether to throw in the towel or stay put. So that's the game they are playing. So the Attorney General will not speak right now. No. It's the party people, the surrogates, etc. They try to give defenses. Some will appear very outlandish. Then some other excuses may appear reasonable. And so that's how it will go until they see that, it appears people are buying into a certain explanation. Then the Attorney General may come in and offer that explanation because testing it on the ground, that one has been bought by the public. That's the way I see it, But unfortunately, for this one, the charges are too many. It's not just one mistake. In the audio, too many things have happened. Look at the one about go and bring a fabricated medical excuse duty, etc. Yeah, too many things. So it doesn't appear to me that that's just one example. So I'm saying too many because the reason I cited that one is that even people who are sympathetic to his case, people who would do a lot to help him, they say that one they cannot defend. As for telling Japa to go and bring a false medical certificate, that one, no, it's unethical. So this thing, the way it looks very bad, look, Godfred Dame should just remember that Ghana is bigger than him, okay? So he should resign. Let Justice Kulendi also go. Kulendi is still young. He can come back to the bar. He can still practice. It's okay. These things, they happen. That's life. It's unfortunate.
We are here to hear from the Ghana Bar Association, and if so minded, the Judicial Service on this raging matter. Is it? I mean, do you understand them? Are they right to maintain this silence, or they have a right to join this raging debate?
Oh, well, the matters are unfolding. When it comes to the service itself, I'm looking, scratching. I'm wondering if there's a protocol about things like this. Maybe what I expect, perhaps the Judicial Council will have to meet on it. And, to convene a Judicial Council meeting. I don't have their rules about the timelines. I'm not aware it's in a published document as a lawyer that I can access. So I can imagine that if Justice Kulendi doesn't resign, then the Judicial Council will have to meet and then invite him, listen to him, and then come to a decision on the matter, right? Yes, because it affects the reputation of the judiciary. We've all been affected. Yes, it's sad. I say nobody comes to this story with any joy. No. Let's get that clear. Because you see, once this has happened, actually, it gives us trepidation that, hey, I say, so nobody is rejoicing over this matter, because then suddenly, even for every client you meet, you are just now wondering, anything your client says, you have to start thinking, hey, what is this? Is this a trap? So, Mr. Brobe, no. Nobody's rejoicing over this matter. We can't. It's not. But rather, it's dangerous. Because you know what? Yesterday, a colleague lawyer sent me a WhatsApp where he listed other public officers who have suffered this same kind of recording.
Right.
You remember, just even up to last week, I've been on Madam T. West's case that Kwame A+ had recorded for impressing upon him, Kwame A+, to drop charges in the Abu Jinapo and Asensu Buachi corruption cases, right?
Right.
So Tiwa had suffered that tape recording, which are Kandapa, National Security Minister suffered a tape recording. Who else? There was a list.
The former director of the Ghana Law School himself, Mr. Sansari.
Okay, good. Sansari, etc. So then the lawyer added that he go catch everybody. So the moment they say he go catch everybody, then Charlie, you day guard, or they say you day G. So it's sad. It's with reluctance, but as I said, the system, we need to preserve a good system. So they should look at it. They shouldn't drag it that long, because the more they drag it, then the more the the world looks at us with some eyes. They'll be looking at Ghana, really, have we got our heads screwed on? What are we defending in this case? Because don't also forget that if they don't resign quickly, this case can snowball and affect other people, because day in, day out, you find new revelations, etc. So it can snowball to affect other people.
Right.
And of course, don't forget also that the more they dig in their heels, then the more victims will come out. Number one victim, and I had been talking about ACP, Dr. Benjamin Agojo. Yeah, he's a victim of Godfred Dame's modus operandi, similar to this thing, where Dame told me that, listen, Martin, I'm just adding ACP Dr. Agojo to the treason trial because I want to make it a weighty case. And then in the process, it destroyed Dr. Benjamin Agojo. So Agojo is a victim. And as I said, until this scandal broke, the one I was talking about and advocating was the removal of Mamiti Wadi Dankwa for the investigation into the Cecily Adapa matter. You see, and I had been mentioned that I profiled her with some key cases that she botched the investigations and trial. And then I brought Dame's own, and Dame, I had 2 cases against him. The way he brought in Agojo into the treason trial and destroyed Agojo's career. And then also I brought in the Mamitiwa angle where Dame came to Joy FM. I mean, well, he didn't come physically. He was on news file on 4th May, where he lied through his teeth that Mamitiwa had conducted comprehensive, thorough investigations into the Sicily Adapa money laundering case and found nothing. It turned out it was false. So what I'm saying is that if you look at the profile of Dame, yes, he has victims. He's caused us a lot. So with this 3rd case, he should resign quickly so that we can heal.
All right, thank you very much. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. And of course, his demand is that the Attorney General should resign. Now, to some other stories, and despite 64% of Africans expressing confidence in the continent, they remain loyal to non-African brands, which have retained their lowly 14% of the most admired brands in Africa. These details were reviewed by Brand Africa in its 14th annual Brand Africa 100, Africa's Best Brands Research and Ranking. African nations account for 64% of the top 50 most admired countries, with South Africa, Nigeria, United States, China, and Kenya being the top 5 countries perceived to contribute to a better Africa. So why is there so much admiration, yet little love from Africans towards their own brands? Joining us for some discussion on this matter is Yvonne Okulu, co-founder and CEO of Top Dog Africa Limited, and Tembe Ekelefem, spokesperson Brands Africa, the researcher. So Tembe, tell us what inspired this research.
The research for the last 14 years. So I founded Brand Africa in 2011. And the reason I did it is I wanted to get a barometer just to understand the state of brands in Africa, to look at where African brands are, because people are talking about Africa rising. So why don't you say as Africa is rising, our choices as well rising with the continent?
Let me ask Yvonne, we have so much confidence in our brands, but are not loyal to these brands. What explains this?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So thank you. I think when I read the report that Tembe and his team have put together, it's clear that we love Africa, but African brands. And so it's more, I liked the phrase that I saw, and I think it resonates, made for Africa rather than made in Africa. And sometimes it's a matter of price, competitiveness. Sometimes it's a matter of legacy. What we have become accustomed to as the assets. And so you find that the older brands that have a bigger legacy sort of tend to become our aspirations. And so that's what is front and center, and that's what we are all working towards. And it will take a lot of consistent marketing, communication, community engagement, some CSR, very impactful CSR, for brands to begin to gain love among the constituency in Africa would be my thoughts. Yeah.
But I think it will first start with us loving ourselves first.
Right.
Because the fact that there's a disconnect between loving ourselves and loving what we consume, it is what Ali Mazrui said in Kenya. A Harvard professor once said that Africa produces what it doesn't consume and consumes what it doesn't produce. Because we don't love ourselves, we we love to be validated by external brands. And because when we're wearing Gucci, we're wearing Louis Vuitton and all those, we think we have arrived. But when we're wearing something that is made in Ghana, made in Africa somewhere, we think that it is poor quality because we don't think well of ourselves.
Right. So Tembe and Yvonne, same question for you both. So Nike, Adidas, Samsung, Coca-Cola, and Apple have all retained their positions for the 5th consecutive year as the top 5 most admired brands in Africa. And then MTN is also somewhere there. The question is it a case that we don't have competing brands, so we are left with no choice than to patronize the ones coming from the West?
Well, Yvonne said something about legacy as well. So when you look about legacy, from the legacy of, I was chief marketing officer for Nike for the continent for 6 years. And but what I do know in my time with the brand is that in the continent you've got billions of eyes every year, every day who are watching football. And when they play football, what do they see? They see Nike, they see Adidas, they see Puma. The three of them are in the top 10 in the most admired brands in the continent. So there's eyes on the brands, but there's also validation by the players wearing those brands. What we don't have, I mean, we don't have the level of Enda from Kenya has got Enda, which is a sport brand for running, but we'd rather take a Nike because we believe it's a better product. Because when you watch television, we see all the big stars wearing Nike, and that's to me that's what the challenge is. I think the other challenge is it goes back to what I said. It's just legacy. It is identity with our self-image as Africans, and just our confidence in Made in Africa.
Yvonne?
I would want to say that there's also the bit about investment in African brands. And so if you want to go on a head-on collision against a big global brand, it's going to cost you some money, and it's got to cost you, and it's not money at once, but it's money that you're spending consistently over a very long time to be able to gain the kind of impact and recognition that these older brands have. So there also is the point about what are African millionaires financing with their millions? How are we opening up African businesses on stock exchanges? How are we opening up our business ideas for equity in money in exchange for equity, so we can have what is the phrase that I sometimes don't like? We can have the financial muscle to compete, because then we have a population that can consume.
Right.
But we don't have the money to serve our products to them consistently and presently as the big international brands do. So it's a hydra-headed question. I don't know if I've done justice to it.
Because my point is that, I mean, we've been told, and this is backed by facts and evidence, that Africa controls at least 30% of the world's resources. We have a younger population. I mean, everything is such that we have the potential to grow. Here is the case: most African countries are more interested in buying and selling, not interested in expanding. Our businesses are not joined together to make them even more powerful to compete with the established ones. As we try to address this challenge, to make the continent self-reliant, make our brands as competitive as the ones that are globally accepted, what would be your suggestion as we take this conversation forward?
I think, and I just want to add a quick anecdote as well. If you look at Ghana and Ivory Coast, who control about 70% or 70 to 80% of the cocoa in the world. But we don't put Ghanaian made chocolates above others. Instead, we prefer the ones that come from Switzerland, irrespective of the fact that 80% of the ingredients come from Africa. So I think part of going forward, what we need to learn from the Chinese. The Chinese closed the borders a little bit. Maybe forget the Chinese. Let me come to Botswana. So Botswana here, just next to my country, South Africa. What have they decided? They've decided that for the diamonds which come from Botswana, they are going to be mined, they're going to be cut, they're going to be polished, they're going to be beneficiated in Botswana. They brought back the head office from London, and recently, as you know, they had a discussion with the beers when the beers wanted to undercut them, and they said, "Listen, we'll create our own markets. We don't need you because we've got with diamonds." So that's a lesson that the Chinese have done so well. The Chinese closed off the borders a little bit, and they said, "Let us first get to the starting lineup, then we can compete." Because you see, most African brands, as Yvonne correctly said, we're not at a starting lineup. We are starting a 100-meter race 400 meters behind, and that's why we cannot compete with many of these global brands. What the Chinese did, for example, with Amazon, when Amazon wanted to come to China, the Chinese said, "Give us some time. We just want to start some small business called Alibaba." And when Alibaba was quite strong, the Chinese says, "Oh, we are now open for business. Please let us compete." And by the time Amazon came in to try and compete in China, Alibaba was a formidable competitor, and they couldn't match up to the competition. So that's what we need. We need some policy changes. We need some. We once said, well, we need some investment, but we just need to catalyze the African investment, entrepreneurship rather, and most importantly, we need to teach Africans on how to build great brands.
But Yvonne, you know there's the African Free Continental Free Trade Area. I thought it is supposed to be the springboard to move us up there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of work going on, and if I am right, it's more of capacity building right now for businesses to understand what the potential is with AFTA. So the idea is, at least for me, I would think the idea would be to stick with the process, and then hopefully the market will be big enough to attract a lot of people, because then it's easy to understand why you see Nigeria rising up in terms research. You see South Africa, because as individual countries, they are a big enough market size.
Right.
But when 30 million people versus 300 million, you don't attract the same investment. But then if you came together and you were $1 billion or $2 billion, then yes, hello, if you wanted money to invest in a brand, you will find it, and you become a more viable business and have a bigger spend for marketing, which is critical to the answers that we are all reading in this research today. It's all the marketing story that has happened, because there's nothing to prove that there aren't comparative brands of quality, etc., that are made in Africa. But the question is, what do people see? What do people know? And what are they aspiring to? And those things are the top of minds that's come out in an unaided recall has happened today. So I would say AFTA is the way. The quicker we progress with it and the more consistently we stick with it, the more we will see African brands rising in the findings.
All right, tell me,
hopefully, in the 15.
I agree. I was going to say that, assuming that when AFTA opens up the borders, open up to 1.4 billion, that they'll be opening up for more African brands and not for everybody else. I think we need to prioritize African brands and African entrepreneurs.
And I guess the other issues also about restrictions and other border controls that limits movement, that all go to slow economic development and integration. What do you expect should change between the next 5 and 10 years?
Well, I think we spoke about AfCFTA, which is based there in Ghana. I think in the next 5 years, most definitely our borders should be opening up. But I think since we started the research 14 years ago, we have over-conscientized Africans now in terms of the disparity between African and non-African brands. But what we're also seeing, we're seeing a lot of entrepreneurship. I mean, in the financial services sector, you go to West Africa, particularly Nigeria, and then you come to East Africa, go to Kenya. You see in the fintech space, most of the brands come from that part of the world. But also, if you come from the fashion space, I mean, West Africa, South Africa, we've got some of the finest designers coming from here. So if you look at the list as well, in the top 100, 10% of the brands are luxury brands from out of the continent. The luxury brands should be coming out of Africa. It should be Makosa from South Africa. It should be Kenneth Inze from Nigeria. It should be Moses Emotions out of Rwanda. So those brands, because we have the capability to do that. It's just that we need to convince Africans that they need to look in the mirror and see what they see. What they see is an African, and that Africans should reflect who they are wherever they go in the world. So because when we go to Paris and we go to Italy and all those, they look like French and Italians, and now we want to look like them in their countries. When they come to ours, they don't want to look like us. They still speak as themselves. So we need to take us into the world wherever we go. That's how we're going to grow our brands.
Yvonne, so there's a hope, right?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. But we need speed and we need consistency.
Okay.
Correct.
Tembe, I wish you the best as you vote in South Africa. And Yvonne will close the
I'm going to vote in 2 hours.
Okay.
I'm voting in 2 hours. I always vote 5 minutes before they close.
All right, then. Guys, you have a good evening right here from the Pulse here on Joy News. We'll take a short break and return with more. Welcome back to the show, and first to our last item before we go. And I'm sure you've heard about the fight to deal with climate change on all fronts, but have you heard about climate change solutions through football? Yes, it is called Green Football. It is an effort to make the football community more environmentally friendly. It is about coming together to ensure that our beloved sport entertain us, protect our environment, and promote community development. This week, football experts from Germany are in Ghana helping Ghanaian football clubs adopt green approaches towards football in the country. It is Green Football, and the objective: develop and implement environmental, social governance guidelines for football clubs, facilitate club adoption of sustainable practices, and other objectives that they are putting across. So this afternoon in the studio is the president of GALCA, Mr. Kujo Fienu. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
And of course, also Prince Osisi Adan, aka Y Square. Of course.
Welcome to your show.
Of course. And of course, we will be delving into this particular matter shortly. Of course, Stefan Wagner is co-founder for Sports 20, also from Germany. Stefan, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
So let's talk about Green Football. I mean, what is it about, Prince?
So Green Football is just, it's a collaboration between Suka Africa, Ghana League Clubs Association, and Sports 20 based in Germany, which is also part of a group of network that is under the G20. So we are just trying to let football clubs in Ghana adopt environment and social practices, said that football can be a tool to address environmental issues like galamsey. That there have been several policies and several attempts, but we are struggling to deal with. But we think the football community can be used. Now we are in June, it's raining. The floods we see, we want to also use football to address the issues of flood. And the big umbrella that everybody talks about, climate change. So we want to also use football to address climate change. But beyond that...
How are you using football to do that?
So the football will be a change agent, and we're working with companies. There's a whole model as part of what we intend to do to use it to address issues of galamsey. So it's a whole model, and if I open it, we will not close to it. Then the clubs are not now profitable. So we want to also help them so that they have something, what we call resource efficiency, to be able to cut down their operational costs. How do they do it? To reduce their energy consumptions, water consumptions, and all that. And Elton, as we sit here, if there's so many positives about football that if I ask ordinary supporter on the street, they will not be able to tell us. Football employs a lot of people. On match day, look at the direct employment it creates. Look at the indirect employment it creates around the stadium, the people who sell. Even on TV coverage, look at the number of people that are in the whole channel. But if we ask Mr. Fiano, the football people, how much people do you employ? Nobody will be able to. So we want to be able to tell. So we want to be able to quantify that. Apart from that, if you look at even football, on a match, they look at the waste that is generated. So we also want to use to be able to resolve waste problems in our stadiums and be able to transfer it into our communities. But one key thing is that the model we are using, once we are done, it will be showcased at the G20 summit. And Ghana is the first, the League Clubs Association in Ghana is the first to use such a model in Africa. And it's to also be showcased at COP29 that is upcoming. So that's the concept of this hotel.
Let me bring in Stefan before Mr. Kujo Fiona come in. Is this something already done in Germany?
No, it's not. Well, we have sustainability criteria in the German Football League already, and there's lots of dynamic in the market, but I think it's not ambitious enough. And this is the reason why we founded Sports 20, because, well, we have serious global threats, as we all know, social threats, environmental threats, such as the climate crisis, biodiversity, and others. And we have the SDGs, which are a clear goal and a clear mandate, but we fail to get the job done because if you hand it over to a random organization, you literally don't know what to do now. What can I do to transform it? And it's not, we don't have the awareness for the SDGs. And this is what sports can do. We inspire millions and millions all around the globe. Nothing else can do similar things in the world. And so if we go into a role in this, through sports to really explain how to translate the SDGs in what you have to do in your organization, this is what we have done with a framework which shows the ambition and gives a pathway to reach the SDGs. And the outcome is two directions. One direction is the sport. What does the sport world has to do? And the other direction is the political world and economics. What solutions do we need on that side? Right. And this is why we are on G20 at the COP, at the climate conference, to address all that things, to be an example for the rest of the world, because we think, we believe sports should go into this role.
Mr. Kpebu, so quite clearly, GACA is on board with this agenda. How does it help the clubs maximize the potential in this new environment that you are venturing into?
This is a project we are very excited about. Don't forget, we play football,
of course,
on green turf. So the acronym green football didn't come by accident. And we are saying that football, as Ghanaians, we say football is our passion. When it's Sunday, everybody's attention is on football. So we want to say that if you ask how many eyes follow football in this country, we'll be counting them in billions. So if we have a product like football, and that is the passion of the nation, I don't think there's any other engine that can drive any change if you want to bring change into society. We play football based on weather conditions. We cannot play football when it rains because we don't have those facilities. Now, there's this craze of astroturfs. Everybody is asking for astroturfs. Have we spare time to find out whether these astroturfs are suitable for our climate? These things, we try to fight galamsey. But we think that the football community also has our legion, where we can also join forces to help fight the climate. Now, we have to move away from the normal source of funding for clubs. You know as much as I do that we are playing a Premier League without sponsorship.
Of course.
And as the welfare body of the clubs, we need to think outside the box. Now, he said something about waste. After we play our games at the various stadia, we litter the place with plastic waste and what have you. The question is, how do we dispose of those things? We have to pay money to get people to collect them and dispose. And it is also eating to our coffers.
Apart from the long deductions. The sports authority will take from the gate proceeds.
The gate proceeds. The question is, we play in the climate. Have we spared time to find out whether the type of jerseys we wear, are they okay for the athlete to play at 3 o'clock when the sun is high? So these are the things we want to bring on board. And the move out from the conventional way of sourcing for funding, the companies are really under severe economic conditions. So I will not have the courage to come to Joy FM to say, Joy, can you sponsor our league? Because when you put the numbers together,
it doesn't add up. So for a club manager who is watching and is wowed by the new initiative that is coming up, the question be asked is, so how do I benefit from this financially?
That is why we have the league. That league will not be played on the field of play. We're going to engage the clubs. As I'm saying, we have this National Tree Planting Day. I want to know how many trees a Diana is planting in Doma.
Right.
I want to know the number of trees Accra Suffolk is planting in Accra. At the end of the year, we'll evaluate all these things, and they'll come with marks. How do you dispose of your waste after matches? What are you doing to help the climate? And then you'll be given marks. At the end of the day, if a Diana scores 15th, Accra Suffolk will come up with a table, and the prizes will come as to the performance of each and every club.
So you are winning on the field and off the field?
Off the field. Mm-hmm. Because now, when you watch what is happening all across the world, everybody's talking about climate change. He's talking about the G20 summit and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you and I will be surprised to see football clubs participating in the next G20 summit. Mm. That is where the money is. People are ready to work to improve the climate. So we want to take advantage of what is happening. Now, I have lived in Obuasi for over a decade. What Galamsey is doing to our water bodies. Mm-hmm. Are we sure that if you can get some page boys playing football from Obuasi, and we use them as ambassadors mm-hmm. to go to the sites and tell them that there is life in football, you may get one or two good footballers who are doing Galamsey because they haven't been given the opportunity.
Right.
So these are some of the schemes we want to work with. That apart from the green turf, there are other avenues we can exploit to make money for our members.
All right, let me bring in Prince again. So when this is already formalized in a way, but when is it kicking off the ground?
So we formalize, we've done, put on the framework, the structures, but it will be launched in the upcoming month in June.
Okay.
Then it will run for a period of 2 years because we need to really guide the clubs through a whole process because this is a shift in paradigm.
Right.
And it cannot be overnight. So we want to help them, guide them over a 2-year period. But Elton, one question that you asked Mr. Fiano, because it's all hands on deck.
Right.
Now, when you walk down your staircase right now, what you want to do is you want to take maybe Coke, beer, malt. If you pick all these beverages, water is 99% of what you are drinking. Mm-hmm. The concentrate is 1%. Now, with the destruction of our water bodies, what will happen is that a time will come, these food and beverages companies need to import water, mm-hmm. making their cost of operation so expensive.
But it's happening already.
Exactly. So what is happening is that we are moving from a certain direction, and corporate, we also expect corporate to also move in a certain direction and meet us, mm-hmm. so that we all work together, and at the end of the day, we benefit. When you go to the Bank of Ghana, there are a lot of things they've launched when it comes to environment, social, and governance. Mm-hmm. We want to use football to drive such initiatives, right, to make sure that it moves from BOG, move to the commercial banks, and move down to the customer who is sitting somewhere in Boko. Mm-hmm. That's the whole concept.
So again, we'll have our normal Ghana Premier League, but alongside, there is a green revolution that they might also adopt and sign on to.
That is correct. Mm-hmm. So that's what Mr. Fenu said. There will be a green league mm-hmm. for the clubs, where at the end of the day, we'll score them. They will gain points like they are playing in their normal leagues, but this one is off pitch. Mm-hmm. Then, at the end of the day, a fund is created and resources are allocated to clubs that do well. In the first year, the allocation is going to be equal because we are starting. Mm-hmm. But in the second year, the expectation is that the more you do, better. Then the more you receive more than the other person if you score more points. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a whole structure, and this is what we want to take to revolutionize Ghana football, right, and move it to where the world is moving. So that when Mr. Fianu and co, the next time the government is going to COP, this project will also be showcased
as part of the activities.
So the government comes in there, we're also sitting in there, and that will be such a fulfillment mm-hmm. for the government and the people of Ghana. And we are just happy that this is the first time it's been done in Africa, and right. we are the ones starting.
Yeah, so Stefan, Ghana, obviously the gateway. What kind of support are you also giving this?
Well, on the one hand side, we have now this ambitious 2020 framework, and we have the global network. We will be present at those platforms like right. G20 and COP and others. And now we need those front runners, those role models like Alka, who are taking responsibility, who take a stand and try to change the mindsets within the league and through football in Ghana. And we do the same in Germany, in Japan, and with partners in Brazil, because it doesn't matter where you are at the moment. It's important where you're heading to. And we all take these examples, and if we are able to create this roadmap and this vision together and show how it works out, then it can be a blueprint for every single league worldwide. And this is the role.
It's possible Ghana may start, but it may be extended to every African country.
It can be, yeah. Well, it has to be driven out individually, but it doesn't matter. You have this common goal, and we have the status quo, and then we are now deciding where to go.
So again, Prince, the official launch is next month. You do have a date already?
No, we're working with other stakeholders to fix the dates. And Mr. Fionu will speak to the dates for the launch.
Yes, just in a few seconds.
The third week of June.
The third week of June.
So we will set.
Okay.
We cannot do these things without the government support.
Of course.
Because we are coming to operate within the confines of. So as soon as we get the green light from the big house, we will do that.
I will also be here to support it.
Why not? The media being the mirror of society, we will count on your support to bring this innovation to success, so that at the end of the day, we are not going to take the credit.
Of course.
All of us will take the credit.
It's green football in Ghana, folks, and that's our show. Mr. Kudjo Fionu is president of GALCA, Stefan from Germany, and of course, Prince Olisi Adan, Soccer Africa. Right, so we'll look forward to the official launch next month, but this is a new phenomenon in Ghana. You just have to get on board, otherwise you'll be left behind. That is the gospel truth. That's our show for today. Hopefully tomorrow, Thursday, we'll be here with another edition of The Pulse. Until then, have a good evening and take care.